Hey guys, welcome back to another top five video. Today I'm joined again with Chaneen. She's here with me. Hello, Chaneen.
Hi, Andrew.
And so this is going to be a kind of an interesting video. There's a few things I want to ramble about first before we actually get into the video. A couple of things. So one, Chaneen and I are actually filming this literally in the middle of the night right now after both of us after the end of our days. So this video will be quite interesting since we both had, long days and it's the middle of the night. So we'll see how this goes. The second thing I kind of want to point out or just talk about a little bit, not that it's really germane to the list, but Chaneen and I play a lot of games and we play a lot of games together. And so when we play games, we look for two-player games. This is really our category. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So the category that we're doing is kind of our top five two-player games. And this is really something that Chaneen and I have been talking about doing either in a blog or like a podcast or something for quite a while now, because when we do play two-player games, that's what we play. Like I play with Chaneen, she plays with me. We really do a whole lot of two-player games together. So kind of as a caveat saying that there will be a lot of kind of shared knowledge about these games because we do play them a lot together. There's probably going to be a bit of crossover, things like that. But it's the middle of the night. We decided to just throw this video together anyways, even though it's late. And so, yeah, I just wanted to kind of have a caveat that like two-player games is really our genre or category of games. So the prerequisites for our top five like favorite two-player games is and Chaneen and I already talked about this beforehand, is that we're looking at games that are specifically two-player only.
Yep.
We did kind of have the idea of doing like games that can play more than two players, but we really just like to play them at two players. And we decided to just let's go just two players, no more, no less, just a two-player game. So that's kind of the criteria for the list that we have for you guys today. The way I ranked my list from 5 to 1 is basically it's not quite as complicated as some of the other ones that I've had, on our channel with Brad and like Kevin. I literally just went 5 is one that I like quite a bit, and 1 is I like a lot, and just varying degrees in there. And so, Chaneen, how did you put your 5 to 1 together? How did you look at it?
That's basically how I did it too. I did it as 5 is a game I like to play a lot, but 1 is a game I want to play more and more of. And like
Okay.
maybe sometime in the future we can do a video with like what games are not specifically two players, but scale well for two players.
Right. Like I know, I guess spoil a video that we haven't even done yet. Like I know we recently played this War of Mine, which is not a two-player game. But man, it was good with two, right?
Right, absolutely it was.
And so that would be something that we would probably talk about. But yeah, today the video is just going to be two-player only. So for the sake of time, considering, like I said, it's in the middle of the night for us and it's been a long day, we're going to get started. I usually have my guests go first, but I'm going to just kind of kick it off first this time. So I'll start with my number 5. And Chaneen and I already talked before we started recording. We do have all of our games at some point here, except for one, which I'll be throwing up on the screen when we have that in a bit or whatever. And so, other than that, I'll just be showing them off. So, my number 5 is a game that really scratches the two-player abstract strategy game itch. And so a lot of people like to play chess, but they don't necessarily know the complexity of it. They don't like the duration of it, whether they feel that it's just too too much for them or something. And so a game that I really like to play, that's kind of that I recommend, that I like playing, is a game called Onitama. Now, Onitama plays basically like chess, but instead of having to know all of the different movements of the pieces, the movements are cards that are shared between you and your opponent. And so I get a certain move where I can go, for example, up and over one. And so I play that card. Well, then that card goes to my opponent and they get to use it. And then when they play a card, it comes to me. So there's kind of this cyclical nature of all of the movement cards going around. So when you lose the game, you lost the game because you gave your opponent the card that they needed to win the game. And so it's pretty cool in that aspect, as far as the movements being cycled around, and that the duration being, I don't know what it said on the box, 15 minutes, I would say, 10 minutes per game. It's a much smaller board. It's only got so many pieces and stuff like that. There's 2 ways to win the game, which is a little bit different than chess, which I actually do like, because there's really only kind of one way to win chess. And so my number 5 is a chess type game called Onitama.
That's fun. I remember the first time when I played Onitama. I can't say it today.
Onitama.
Onitama. I've never learned chess really, because I never remember what moves go where. But this one was super easy. It was super fun, and yeah, the little miniatures are even cute. I like the board. I like the cards. I like how fast paced it is. And like you said, it scratches that itch of chess, but it's not directly chess.
Yeah, and there's this theory out there that whoever goes first will always win the game. I'm still doing the research in my own laboratory about that, but I have noticed that whoever goes first, usually if they're an experienced player, they will usually win the game. But I still like it. It's my number 5, so it's not.
We should play that sometime soon again. It's been a while.
Yeah, I play this in my work situation a lot, because it's like chess, and like just everything I already said. It's easy to play, it's easy to set up, it's easy to teach, and you're done in 10 minutes. And you can play best out of 3 or best out of 5 or whatever you have time for. And so.
Awesome. I like it a lot. All right, my number 5 is a a deck building game where you are playing spaceships. It's a spaceship combat game, and it's a deck builder. And it's been out since 2014, I believe. And it is called Star Realms. I am a big addict. I love deck builders. So when I got a chance to find a deck builder game that was a 2-player game, I was all in. I love this game. We, as Andrew said, we play a lot. So we do a BGG 10x10, and we had this on our 10x10 2 years ago, I believe. And we played it 10 times in a year, and I'd play it 10 more times in a year. It's a great game. It's fast, 20 minutes. I would say it's an average game. Sometimes they're a bit longer. And you get to a score of 21, I want to say. No, 51. It's 51.
50.
50.
Well, yeah, 50. Every player starts with 50 health points. And so you just kind of do damage until. Yeah.
Yep. And there's like base cards that once they're out, stay out until, sometimes they're outpost and inpost. If they're outpost, the opponent has to have the amount of fight to damage, power, hit points to take out the base, or it stays out. And there's factions, and the factions build on top of each other. And it's awesome. I like the game a lot.
Yeah, this is the first game that I ever saw that used that. I don't know what we want to call it. That faction building, where factions pay off other factions. You get special abilities. So like red cards help red cards, and green cards help green cards, and yellow cards. So yeah. And this is the first time that I saw that, where it's like if you play a green card, you get to draw a card. But if you play another green card, then it activates another ability and you get to draw two cards or something. It's like, whoa. So green cards really help green cards. So whatever system that's called, I don't really know what that is. This was the first time that I saw it. And it's been very popularized by Legendary. The Legendary system with like Marvel and James Bond and all of those games and stuff have the same kind of where you play these card combos. The factions kind of pay off each other. There's also a word game called Hardback, where there's that same sort of system. We have genres instead. And so this really was cool for me. I really like the space theme, although there is a Hero Realms, which came out first, which I've not played, but that's more of a D&D sort of feel to it. And yeah, we had this on our 10x10 a few years ago. Just enjoyed every minute of it, playing it and keeping it simple. There's some expansions and stuff for it. I honestly don't know what's going on with this game. It's probably just a dead game, but the designers have moved on and started other projects and stuff like that. So yeah, that's definitely a good one. It's just a card game. You can put it in a little box and take it with you and just play wherever.
Yep.
So yeah, 7.6 on BGG. That's pretty good. So on to my number 4. My number 4 is kind of cool. I really like, I enjoy lots of different mechanisms in games. But one of them that I do like, I really enjoy, is called worker placement. And so there's basically, you have these little figures, your little workers. You get to kind of place them out on the board. And depending on how many workers you have, that's how many actions you can do. That's how much stuff you can get done on any given round. It's great. I've seen it implemented in, we're filming this really late, Viticulture and like Champions of Midgard. I'd never seen it really 2-player, because 2-player really doesn't work, because it's like, I go here, I block you or whatever. But in this game, it really does work, and there's really more to it. But the basic of it is worker placement, and this is called Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft. And this is just a 2-player only game. It's a worker placement game where you are trying to collect clue cards from the middle, kind of a la Ticket to Ride style, and you're adding them to your tableau. And it runs off of a pyramid deck, which a pyramid deck means like there's 10 10s and there's 9 9s in the game, and 8 8s and 7 7s and 6 6s and like that. And if you have the majority at the end of the game, if I have more 10s than you, I get 10 points. If you have more 9s than me, you get 9 points. And there's some more bonus scoring and other things like that. But man, for a worker placement game, I was like, a worker placement game would never really work for 2 players. But the way that they did this, they knocked it out of the park. I really enjoy Holmes a lot. It's definitely really fun. It's my number 4.
I totally forgot about that game, and I just looked at it the other day.
Yeah, it's a really good. I'm kind of like looking at it right now. It's a really good balance of like being able to. The two things I like about it is, one, that you have to be able to pay for certain cards. They have these little magnifying glass tokens that represent basically your money in the game, to be able to do certain things. But the other thing that I really love about it, and I know this isn't a my favorite mechanism video, but I really like the fact that when you place a guy on a card, to take an action, because it has cards that have actions on it, next round, you can't take that action first. You have to get the guy off the card to place another guy on that card. So you can't really double up on things. And there's a lot of strategy, I guess, in regards to how you play from round to round. It's relatively short. I've played this with, it says 30 minutes on the box. I'd say that's probably about right.
Yeah, I would agree.
Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft. It's just a little box. I really enjoy this one a lot. It's my number 4.
Yeah, great pick. I totally forgot about that. And I know, like, the other day when I was, I saw it at your places, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. And then as I'm doing my list and looking at stuff, I forgot about that one. There's so many 2-player games. I had an issue. Well, I had problems trying to pick my favorites, but my
2-player games is rather interesting. It would be difficult to design because 2-player games are very much of a tug of war kind of thing, but you don't want it to
yep,
be, you don't want it to feel like a tug of war game because that's too primitive.
correct.
But yeah, a lot of the games that I have on my list, and I'm guessing you have on your list, are very much more intricate and well designed than just I pull the token this way, you pull the token this way. You know, that can be kind of samey after a while, and so yeah, 2-player games are definitely a rare thing, which is why we think that this video is so important for us to get up on the channel, because there are a lot of um, couples, husbands, wives, significant others, whatever, that because of the time at the time of filming this, which is during the 2020 like COVID-19
Pandemic. Yep.
pandemic thing, that there are a lot of couples kind of stuck at home, not working, or maybe with like teenage kids that aren't in school and stuff like that. And so if any time, this list is probably the most important.
Oh yeah, I would totally agree. Totally. So my number 4 is a game that I got recommended to me by an old friend of ours, and so I picked it up because it was highly recommended. I've played it a few times. It's a game that my mother, who is not a gamer for much, she plays the simple games. She likes game, but it's like dice. She likes to roll dice. But when I got this game, I asked her to play it. It's based on the game by I'm gonna say it wrong, but Rosenberg.
Uwe.
Uwe Rosenberg
Uwe
and
Rosenberg. It's got to be a worker placement. Oh, patchwork.
Patchwork. So in this game, you are trying to complete a pattern. Your player board has a pattern on it, like a quilt, and you're getting pieces that are like Tetris pieces.
Yeah.
And trying to completely fill the board. And there's a timer, and you have to get pieces before the other player you're playing with gets the piece. And then at the end of the game, you get your score on how many squares you covered and how many you have open that didn't get covered. I love this game. I don't get to play it very often, but like I said, it's one of the games that I can actually like say, hey, Mom, I'm stuck at home with my mom, and I pull it out and be like, Mom, let's play Patchwork. In fact, the other day she said, where's that game with the quilts? Pull it out, let's play it. So I recently got to play it again. I kind of enjoyed it. I know, like, we've played it a couple times. One time that I know for sure. But yeah, it's a interesting, fun little game. It's puzzly. So if you're into puzzle games, this is a great game if you like puzzle games and like Tetris.
Uwe Rosenberg did one of my favorite games, which is basically described how I describe it to people, which is how it was just described to me, as farming the board game, which is called Agricola. And he did that game. I actually am not a fan of Patchwork. It's not on my list. I didn't care for it as much as you did. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's that spatial reasoning type, putting shapes and being able to see how they fit or whatever.
Well, and that there's not a lot of like personal interaction between people, and I know you like more of a personal interaction rather than like working on your own little tableau.
I guess that's true. Yeah. There are quite a few games, not just in the 2-player world, but just in the regular world, whatever you want to call it, where you just kind of look down and you just have like a puzzle you're trying to put tiles together or whatever. And some of them I do like. Suburbia is like one of my favorite tile placement games, where you're building your own city and placing tiles and stuff, but essentially it is just down here instead of kind of interacting with people out here. I really enjoy that one a lot. But Patchwork, yeah, it just seemed like, well, I'm just working on my puzzle, you're working on your puzzle, and really
Hmm.
the only interaction that we have isn't there. There's like kind of a drafting system or something, right?
Yep.
Where you can take a
Correct.
piece that's like, oh, that's a piece that I needed or whatever. So that's about as much as goes on in that game. But yeah, good pick. Uwe Rosenberg. I did not know that was his game. He makes a lot of games that are kind of samey, like just different themes, but kind of the same sort of like worker placement. You're either collecting beads or you're collecting flowers or you're collecting sheep, whatever. So yeah, it's just he just kind of like a one string banjo. As far as I know, I have not played like all of his games, but I've check in and kind of see what all of his games are about. So moving on to my number three, a few games have tried to do this in the past. I know one, at least one that has tried to do it, and I'm blanking on the name of it. Something about holding hands or something like that. I'm not sure. Um, but this game, it really did a pretty good job, and so this game is what I would say out of my list is the most elegantly designed, the most innovatively designed game, the most interesting game. That doesn't necessarily that it's a game for you. I'm just saying it's super interesting. And why is because it's a game about being in a relationship. Literally. I
Yep.
know a lot of these games we can talk about like, oh, it feels kind of like good game for couples, but Fog of Love is a game where you are literally playing couples. This is a big box, so I'm not going to get it in frame too long. Um, Fog of Love is a two-player only game where you are one person in a relationship. You create
Yep.
now you don't really create a character, but you pick your gender. You can have male female, you can have male male, female female. Like really, they really just kind of leave it up to whatever the players want to do as far as like sexual identity and stuff. It gives you kind of a starting scenario and reads like how you met and some of the personal goals that you'll have, and you get to draft at the beginning of the game. I don't know if Shanine would if you would call it character creation, but you do get kind of like traits that you kind of say like
Hmm.
my character is very organized, and so I put that and that's hidden. And so if I were playing with Shanine, she wouldn't know about my character. And so something on my card says that I have to kind of play the game a certain way to try to move these trackers, or I'm very compulsive or whatever. And then there's some physical traits that you can play on the other person. They'll say, one of the things that really attracted me to this character is your sense of humor, and then you can play a humor card. And this is all literally just the start of the game. You're just kind of building how your characters are in this relationship, and then you kind of play through, and you every round you play cards that are events, that are events like in real life relationships, from deep down secrets such as like I'm actually still married, to lighthearted things of like I'm thinking about changing my job, or hey, we have some vacation, where should we go on a vacation? And you're really trying to match with your partner a lot of the time, so it'll give you options like A, B, C, or D, and then you have these tokens that you kind of reveal. And most of the time you want to kind of match, because then that shows like some synergy between you, because you're both are like, we should go do, and then you both say at the same time like Italy, it's like, and then that'll help boost your relationship meter and whatnot. It's a really innovative game. It's a really ambitious project. I don't know if they absolutely nailed it, which is why I don't play Fog of Love like every weekend with my buddies or whatever. I don't know if they actually nailed it. There is an expansion scenario called Paranormal uh, Love or something, Paranormal Romance, that we've played through, and does some kind of interesting legacy type things
Yeah.
as far as what they do with the cards and adding them in and out or whatnot. But Fog of Love is definitely a gamer's game. There's some min maxing that you can do because everyone's got their own personal goal. But if you can get your personal goals and your relationship goals at the end, you can basically walk off into the sunset or whatever, or
Hmm.
you'll break up. Things don't align, and it's just like it's not working for me. And depending on what scenario you play will tell you kind of the feel of it, like the length of how long you'll play and things like that. I could go on about this game for a while because there's really a lot to it in regards to the cards that you play. You can have secret cards. There's a lot to it, which I'm not going to even go into. But essentially, Fog of Love, it's a 2-player, literally relationship game. It says on the box it's a romantic comedy as a board game. And so that's my number 3, Fog of Love.
So cool. That game is fun, and it kind of gives you a chance to like do a little bit of like role playing, and
Mm-hmm.
like what I think. Who are you with? I saw you with another girl. Did you A? Is that A? So I'm a coworker. B, whatever, and you choose options, and you get points or move up on certain characteristic traits depending on the answer. So yeah, that game was quite fun, and I enjoyed the aspect of like being able to pick like your own characters and kind of, like I said, role play a little bit, having theater background. It was fun to be like, I'm Stacy and I'm from Philadelphia, and it was fun to kind of create a character based on like what you drew card wise,
Mm-hmm.
and then like trying to get your partner to be like, do we match? Do you, Stacy, and you, John, have the same like for where you want to go on vacation, And it was super fun, and how the game progressed, and the cards, and
Yep.
they were in the story. Yeah, I liked it. It was fun. Like I said, it's basically like you're playing a relationship in a board game.
Yep.
I think there was one that you're right. I think it was called Holding Hands or something. Holding Hands Together. So I remember you talking about it,
Yeah, I
but
can't remember the whole title. It's a long
I can't
title.
I can't remember either. But was this one that was available? Like you waited till it came out to get, or was it a Kickstarter? I can't remember.
Fog of Love was a Kickstarter way back in, I want to throw out 2016. And I just loved the idea. I was so interested in it that for those of you that know me, I put a whole lot of gone between me and the Kickstarter because of this exact reason. I was going to back the Kickstarter Fog of Love, and they weren't shipping until I think it was more than a year after. They're like January of 2018 or something like that. It was ridiculous. And so I'm like, why am I just don't feel, it feels weird to just drop money and be like, I'm going to have a game coming to me like a year from now. I don't even know what my life's going to be like a year from now. So, it's just, it's so weird. And so this one, I kind of waited to see if it kind of came out. It got picked up by a bigger distributor. I ordered mine through Walmart. Actually, Walmart has Fog of Love online, not necessarily in the store. I don't think I've ever seen it in the store, but my copy that I just held up is from Walmart.com, I believe. And so the only downside to Fog of Love, which is why it's probably not higher on my list or whatever, and why I said earlier that they didn't quite necessarily nail it, which doesn't mean I don't really care for the game, is that they try to do its part kind of role playing, just having fun and playing a character, but then it's also part this like meta game of like
Mm-hmm.
min maxing of like I need to get 6 points in my hygiene chart, and so I need to pick this way. And you start, Euro gamers are really going to start
Mm-hmm.
crunching the numbers and looking at the meta game. Another one that does this is kind of like the King's Dilemma is another game that's
Mm-hmm.
like it's got this big kind of role playing idea to it, but then sometimes as a player you're like, let me see, let me
Gotta work
crunch
on
the
my
numbers here.
objective.
There's like a
Nope.
meta game to it, and that's the only reason why I'm not saying like 100% they nailed it, but I still do think it's fun. It's on my list, obviously, and so Fog of Love is my number 3.
Yep, number 3.
Good one to check out for couples.
Definitely. My number 3 is it's a game that we actually are currently playing in our 2020 10 by 10. It is it won the original one game of the year 2 years ago,
Unfortunately.
2018. And they came out with a two-player version of it, and it's called Codenames Duet. I currently don't have it. It's right there. My copy is right there since we're playing through it. For those who haven't ever played Codenames, you basically have a grid of 25 words. We both see the same words. And then there's a card that each of us see that's double-sided, and I'm trying to get him to say certain words, and he's trying to get me to say certain words, but you can only give a one-word clue, and that's it. And sometimes it's hard because the words can be kind of close. So like there might be a dog and a tail, and you say animal. Well, you don't want them to say tail, but you want them to say dog, and you have to find a way for them to get in your brain and be like, oh, why did she say animal? Which ones is she trying to get? And you have 9 turns to get 15 words in the duet. And there's also a little like campaign that you can play, and it gives you a map, and you basically are traveling to different cities. And each city you go to, it gives you different turn numbers and different not wrong answers that you can get in order to say that you've landed at this city and can move on to a different city in the map. It's super difficult to find words, but it's actually really fun. I like it.
Yeah.
I didn't mind any code names at all. I like all the versions. The first one was good. The original is good. The pictures is good. After Dark is good. I haven't played the Disney one or the Harry Potter one, but I'm sure they're both good as well. I think that's why they just keep doing expansions and having different themes to it. Kind of like it's popular, so it's fun. I like
Yeah.
it. It's by Czech Games, and
Yep.
it won the 2017 Golden BGG Award, Golden Geek Award. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. So I recently was just talking about, so if you watch our channel at all, as we were taught, we have a video called Top 5 Games We Dislike, and Codenames actually made an honorable or dishonorable mention on my list. I did not like Codenames. It's part party game, but part like thinking word game. It slows down. It's usually just a mess. I usually don't care for it. However, having said that, the duet version, which again is a 2-player only version, kind of mitigates some of that because it gets rid of the party aspect because it's only 2 of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's gone. So I'm like, okay, that's great, because the original game kind of proposed itself as a party word game. And it's like, well, it's either one or the other, because it either is super fast and super fun, like a party game and easy and makes people laugh, or it's a word game where it's slow, like Scrabble, and you're like trying to put your words together, and it's like they just don't mix. Well, you get rid
Yep.
of the party aspect and you bring in just the 2-player, the duet, Codenames Duet, and it's much more enjoyable. It's not on my list. It probably would be somewhere on my list in the top 20 or something like that, but I have no interest in playing any Codenames. But Codenames Duet is great because it's cooperative. It's just got the 2 players, so you don't have to worry about parties, and it's tough as nails. It's really
It really is.
really difficult. And so trying to beat the objectives and kind of move on, like Chaneen said, in this grid, or not a grid, but like a map, is really difficult. And where you move kind of limits your ability to like have turns, how many turns you have, or how many wrong guesses you can get, and it gets really 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 difficult. But this is a scenario where it's kind of like chess, where it's just Shanine and myself. So on my turn, I can sit and I can take some time and think and overthink and rethink, and it feels okay because that's what the game is supposed to be. Regular code names, you sit there and think for like 10 minutes and people are like in a party atmosphere, that's just a no-go from me. And so this is a really great pick. Codenames Duet. Yeah. I would definitely have this on my list somewhere for two-player games. So my number 2 is one that I'm probably not going to talk about too much because we will probably just kind of chime in together at some point. But my number 2 is a game I actually took first place in a tournament one time in North Dakota tournament. And so it's based off of an actual bigger card drafting game, and it's the 2-player version of it. It's a civilization themed kind of game. It's not Civilization, but you're kind of building up a kind of abstracted civilization game or civilization. There are multiple ways to win. There's different strategies. There's different ways to draft cards. There's an expansion that adds some pretty cool mechanisms that I've played around with a little bit. And that game is called Seven Wonders Duel. I absolutely love this game. I've played it a lot. I've lost a lot. I've won a lot. It's just a game that I just keep on playing, and it's not like a new game either. I mean, it's not like brand spanking new. I'm seeing 2016 on here, so I know for a lot of non-gamers, 2016 is like, dude, that's a new game. But for us gamers, that's not even like really a new game. But Seven Wonders Duel is based off of Seven Wonders, which is a bigger sort of game where you can play up to 7 people, and you're doing kind of a pick and pass, what they call card drafting, where you're drafting a card and then you're passing it to the next person, and then you get some pass cards. Well, here you're not doing that because it's on the table, because the cards are formed in kind of a pyramid shape, or depending on what age you're in, because you go through different, like a civilization game, you go through like age 1, 2, and 3, and you're getting better at like what your civilization can do, and you're building resources. Hey, I can take this card for points because my civilization is producing wood and brick and stone, and you're building wonders. There's 7 wonders that you can build, from like the pyramids to these great libraries and things like that give you extra points and extra abilities or whatever. It's a fairly steep learning curve, I would say, compared to some of these other ones. Maybe Fog of Love would be a kind of a steep learning curve just because it adds in that role-playing aspect. So Seven Wonders Duel is one that's you have to kind of go, how does this work again? What can I do on my turn? But when you get it, you get it, and it's just absolutely fantastic.
Yep,
It's
I
just a
agree.
totally streamlined game. It gives you that sort of like, if I do this here, I could do, but no, but that depends on if she takes that. But if she doesn't, I could do, and then you look over on their side of the board, like, yeah, no, I can't do that because, and I know a lot of viewers are seeing that and being like, that sounds like a boring game. If it seems too thinky, and it is, but it's really fun thinky.
Absolutely.
It's an awesome game. There's a tally system. You can win through a military victory. You can win by getting science boosted up. You can win that way, or you can win by just going all the way to the end of the game and just adding up all the points that you have, which is pretty difficult. So I'm going to leave it at that because you obviously have yours out as well, so we can kind of talk about it. Is it your number 2?
It is my number 2 as well.
Okay, so I'll pass it off to you.
I was gonna say you might as well. I was gonna say, should we just show it at the same time? That's why I did it, because I knew what you were talking about.
So go ahead and just kind of, you can do your number 2, talk about whatever, I've already kind of covered a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, you have it, and that's not a problem. I also agree. This is a Antoine Bauza game, and the first time I played it, I was like the same. I mean, I get things, but that first time around, you're like I don't quite get it, but I kind
Yeah.
of
The
you kind of
strategy.
yeah, the strategy. You finally figure it out, and you're like, oh wait, oh I forgot about that, or like you like I'm one of those I get to the point where like that I want to put my little finger in every little pot, but you have to kind of pick a strategy because if you don't pick strategy in this one, you're bound to lose, and you're gonna be like, what, oh man. And you think you're going in one direction, and you're like, oh wait, no, I should go. Oh no, military. Forgot about military. Oh, I forgot about. And then like the what are they called? The guild cards. The cards that have special cards that
Yep.
kind of help you
There's,
out along the way and come out in like the different ages. I actually bought the expansion. It's called Pantheon, and
yep.
um, you don't really need the expansion. I enjoy the expansion just because it kind of gives it another aspect, another level of like, hey, there's something else that I can do, and it helps you more because they give you higher abilities or more points. But you do not need the expansion to play this game. Like Andrew said, it's it's a pretty awesome and pretty solid game. Um, we both have played it so much that like I sleeved my cards. I know he sleeved his cards to keep
Yep.
them kind of intact because we've played a mess of it. And I play a mess of it more. It's fun. You have to find the right person to play with because some people don't like the really super thinky games, but once you get it, you get it, and it's not as hard as you think it is. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that's the thing with
Yeah.
some games that people are like, I don't want to play it. It looks really hard. But yeah, that first time around, it might be a little difficult because there's so much going on. You don't really get it, but play it again and you're like, oh, I get it. I can build this wonder because I have these resources because I've taken these cards. And yeah,
Yep.
it's an amazing game. I I love it a lot, and I'm hoping to play a lot more of it.
Me too. Yeah. I'm definitely a game that's going to sit in my collection for a long time. Definitely going to play it. I've got a brother that I got him into playing it. So we have like a little bit of a sibling rivalry with Seven Wonders Duel when we get a chance to see each other and like get together and stuff. Whenever that happens around like the holidays and whatnot, that's kind of a tradition for us. What I would say for those of you watching, if you're interested and you're hearing about like Pantheon and expansions and things like this, my recommendation, I guess, is if this looks cool, if you want to pick it up, all of these games are available on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Chaneen and I have not thrown out any games that are like out of print or rare or like you can only get it through the distributor. I happen to know all of my games I got on, um, like the Walmart one or Amazon. And so if you're interested, here's what I would recommend because this is such a great game. You really should get it.
Absolutely.
Get Seven Wonders Duel. Um, the two player version. You've seen it already. It looks like this. Play the snot out of it. Okay. When you're done playing however many 10, 20, 15, however many games, when you get bored with it, then think about getting the Pantheon expansion. I believe it's about in the $20 range or something like that. It adds in another little sideboard and adds in some big kind of tarot sized cards and stuff. And it just kind of reinvigorates the game to be like, oh, we've played this so much, but now there's this other aspect that we can worry about. So when what I would say to you watching, if you're interested, just don't worry about making the big commitment with the
Yeah, I
Pantheon and
agree.
everything. Just get the base game, play the crap out of
Yep,
it, get the
absolutely.
strategies down, and have a lot of fun with it. If you think you're like, I kind of want to just keep going and add some more, then Pantheon definitely. I think Shani and I would both say like thumbs up on getting the
Hmm.
expansion for it.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
yeah, both of our number twos, great picks. I can't recommend Seven Wonders Duel enough. It's just such an eloquent game.
Yep,
Yeah,
I
we're just
agree.
gonna start repeating ourselves at this point, at this late hour in the middle of the night. So before we go on to our number ones, we kind of talked about doing a like honorable mention, kind of a quick little spout off. I have one, two, three, four honorable mentions. Did you put together any, Chaneen, that you want to kind of throw out
I
there as
have
just like didn't quite make the list?
I have two that I picked
Okay,
to
go
do
ahead.
honorable mentions on. The first one I picked is like it's the simplest game ever. It's so simple. I can't even. You can pick it up at Walmart. It's like $10, and it's called Shut the Box.
Two player, even
Um,
says it on the box. Two
yeah,
player.
2 players, Shut the Box. It is the simplest game ever. You have these little flip up pegs. Each person has them. They're numbered 1 through 12. You roll 2 die, and then the numbers on the die, you can take any amount and you can knock down the pegs or the tiles, I guess they are, that equal the amount on the die. When you can't knock down any more, then the other person does the same thing, and whoever has the lowest score wins. Because the idea is to knock down all the pegs, and you can keep rolling until you can't knock down anymore. It's super simple. I played it forever. I had a long stint in the hospital last year, and I played it more times than I can tell you with friends and with family, my grandma and my mom and her boyfriend, and our gaming friends came and we played it, and it's just super simple and a 2-player game, that's pretty much it. There's no bells or whistles to it. It's just simple. Roll the die, knock down the pegs. That's pretty
Yeah.
much it.
Yeah, it's really just a simple dice checker kind of game where there's very little strategy to it as far as how you add it up and which ones. Let's see, do I want to knock down just the 8, or do I want to do the 5 and 3, or whatever. There's a little bit of decision making in that regards, but yeah, it's just kind of rolling dice or whatever. It's kind of reminds me of like a good bar room game,
Mm-hmm.
like at a bar, because they like to have a lot of dice chucking games
Yeah,
at the bar.
6-5-4.
So yeah, that's a good one. I play that one in my work situation quite a bit as well. So what's your other one?
The other one that I have is a game that I forgot that I had, and when I was creating my list, I ran across it and was like, "Oh, yeah, this is a great game." So I was trying to
Can I
remember because I haven't played it in forever, but it's
can I guess it?
Yeah,
Is it Cthulhu related?
it is Cthulhu related.
Yeah.
I just had it. What did I do with it?
I like this game. I don't own this game. Why don't I own this game? I think it's yeah.
Tides of Madness.
I like this game.
Yeah, I forgot about it, and I found it in my closet in all my games, and I was like, oh yeah, this one's super fun because you draft cards, and you're building your kingdom, and you have 3 rounds to do it, and you want to again try to get things that go together, and the most points wins. Again, not a very super um, uh, long game. It takes about 25 minutes to play, and it's quick to set up. We play a lot of Cthulhu themed games, so it kind of like does kind of fall into that H.P. Lovecraft
Yep.
genre, I guess, mythology, I guess it would be, and I've totally forgot about this game, and now I want to play it.
Yeah, it's so like it's so stupid easy how to play, but I mean, you're not. It's a cheap game. It's just a box and some cards, I think, maybe a
Yep.
couple little punch out tokens. So it's a cheap game. So I mean, you're not expected to get hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay on like a $20 game, but you you can play it. You can enjoy it
Hmm.
and play it 2, 3 times in a row, put it on the shelf, bring it back out with another friend, play it. As far as I remember, it's a pretty slick game, but it's
Hmm.
just like stupid easy. It's not a very innovative. It's pretty primitive game of just drafting, pass to you, drafting. You don't want it. You want to collect certain sets or whatever, but you don't want madness tokens because you could end the
Yep.
game. And so like
Hmm.
they balance the really good cards are balanced because they'll be like, oh, this is a really good card, but it comes with madness, and so it's like, oh,
Hmm.
I got to watch my madness meter, because the very first time I played this was with a couple group that I played with, and I just wasn't really thinking too much and was like, oh, I have 9 madness, and it's like, oh, I lost. You just automatically lose the game, and so there's a little bit to think about, but other than that, it's just stupid simple. I
Hmm.
don't know why I would like it, but I do like this game, and I don't own it, and it is kind of fun. I really enjoy that pick. That was a really good pick. So I'm
Thanks.
going to fly through my honorable mentions
Okay.
pretty quickly, so we can just get to our number ones. The first honorable mention I have is a game. Now I need to preface this that it's the 2-player version, because this is a 2-player list. And so there is a game of this that is a 4-player, 5-player game. So I'm referencing the 2-player version of Tesla versus Edison.
Oh yeah.
Um, this game is a little wonky. I don't know if I've quite figured out. It didn't make the list because it was just like, I believe Tom Basil said it best in his review, where, as far as I know, and I have not played a crap ton of Tesla versus Edison, the 2-player game, but I'm kind of quoting or plagiarizing from Tom. He said that the game is very like, if someone does something on their turn, you need to do this on your turn. And then because they did this on their turn, you need to do this. And then they need to do this. And it's very just like, not really, you don't really have a whole lot of options where it's like, oh, you did that, well, I'm going to go off and I'm going to work on my this part of my board or this
Hmm.
aspect of my game, because you'll lose. And so it really is, if you do A, I do A. If you do B, then I have to do B. Not copying moves, but kind of countering each other until
Right.
you run out of time. And then it's just like, well, let's just score it up. And you score these locations. So the theme of the game is one person plays Tesla, one person plays Thomas Edison, fighting for the popularity of electricity, AC versus DC, um, electricity, like voltage, and you're trying to power these cities that are on the board. I believe there's 3 of them out on the board, and there's special actions you can take, and you can take some stock in other different people. All the people are from history, which is cool. Um, but the game can get a little bit of like, once you play it, you realize, oh, they move to the left, I got a counter to do this.
Hmm.
Like they move, and because I countered, they have to do this, which means I have to kind of do this. So it didn't make it on my list, but I still will play it. I still have it, and I won't get rid of it. The next one is a new one that is Chaneen and I's kind of newfound gem, and it's called Watergate. And
Yeah.
Watergate is a stupid theme because it's about the Watergate
Watergate. Yep.
scandal in 1971 or something like that. Richard Nixon, Watergate scandal. One person plays the Nixon administration, the Nixon character, trying to cover up his tracks. The other person is playing an investigative journalist trying to connect leads on this board. And you remember earlier when I said the 2-player games are a lot about this like tug of rope thing? Well, it's
Hmm.
kind of literally in this game. There is like stuff where it's like you pull things towards you and then they pull things back
Yep.
towards them, but it works. Like somehow this
Yep.
it works. This is a newfound gem. Shani and I just played this pretty recently, and we've been getting some
Hmm.
game plays of it, trying different roles. I'll be Nixon this time, and then you could be Nixon next time, and we'll swap. And we've really been enjoying it.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty short game. It's pretty easy to learn. You're just playing cards on your turn. There's a little bit of strategy to it as far as getting the initiative and when to trigger certain cards,
Hmm.
when not to, when to kind of hold on to them, when to play that big kind of big card that'll pull like lots of things towards your side of the board. I really enjoy that. It's a really good game. It would probably be on my list if we were doing top 20 or something like that,
Hmm.
but didn't quite make it. The last one that I have to throw out there, which again, these are all honorable mentions. So I do enjoy all these games to some
Hmm.
degree. They just didn't hit the top five. So they're probably 6, 7, and 8 or whatever.
Right.
And it's a game called Jaipur. And so Jaipur is this spice trading, or no, like you have silk and you're basically kind of card drafting from the middle to try to be able to get, it's got kind of a Middle Eastern sort of theme look to it. And when I first played it, I just thought it was brilliant. I mean, I got my butt handed to me multiple times, but I just thought the design of it was really brilliant. So those are my honorable mentions. Games I really do like. Don't get me wrong; they're not on the list, but they're still games you should check out. And so we'll move into our number ones. I'll start with my number one. Um,
Yeah.
this is the first. So my number one. I should get ready. I should probably give the full disclosure on this game. This game is a game that I came across while I was in a relationship, and it was pretty much the thing that we did. And it really kind of gave me this feeling of being in a relationship. Now, I know I talked about Fog of Love earlier, which is literally overtly being in a relationship. But this game gave me a lot of that feeling of giving and taking and sacrificing, and when do I sacrifice some things at the certain time or whatever. It's a card playing game. How I describe it to people is I describe it as basically competitive solitaire. And so the game that I'm talking about that is my number one, that will always be my number one for a long time, is called
Yep.
Lost Cities by Dr. Reiner Knizia. Um, Lost Cities really doesn't have a theme, unfortunately. You're going on expeditions, but they're basically just cards in different suits. You have yellow, blue, white, red, and you have a board. You have a board in the middle between the two of you. And so what you're trying to do, like I said, competitive solitaire, what you're trying to do is on your side of the board, you're trying to put together runs of starting at like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you're trying to get as many of those runs as you can. Now, if I play the 2 and then I play the 5, well, that is now blocked off the 3 and the 4
Hmm.
in that color. So a red 2, and then let's say I draw later on in the game the red 3. Well, I already played the red 5. So that card's useless to me. And
Hmm.
you're trying to get as many points in these columns as you can. And if you can't get up to at least 20 points, then they're all negative and they count against you. And
Yep.
it's really beautiful. But I don't want to talk about the scoring, because the scoring is just the scoring. What I want to talk about is the beauty of when you're playing something, because you can discard to this middle. Like I said, there's a board in the middle, and what you discard is what you're sharing, because the other person can then say, well, I'll take that card. And
Yep.
so you really need to look at, and you don't know what they have in their hand, but you got to look at what the state of their game is going over on the other side of the fence, so to speak, and saying, I have to do something. I have to discard something, but is it going to be this? I might need this later. There's a lot of strategy to it. But it's really easy to play. It's really easy to teach and learn. It doesn't take too long. You're supposed to play best out of 3, where you have like a cumulative score, and then you score round 1, 2, and 3 together. Boom, and then you have your winner. This one is definitely my number one. It just feels like the give and take that you have with someone else, but in a board game, in a card game, actually, of what do I give? When do I learn how to sacrifice something for the greater good? Because I'm going to give a card to Chaneen that I know she needs, but that means that I'll get to draw a card from the top of this deck that I
Hmm.
don't know what it is. But as we always say, new is always better, or at least it could potentially be. because I don't know what it is. So I'll give you that yellow 5 that you need. I'll discard it, but I'm going to draw into maybe something I need.
Blues.
Maybe I don't. And so I don't want to say it's a push your luck game at all, but it has a little bit of a feeling of like, God, do I play that red 5 now, or do I hold on until I find the red 2 or the red
Yep.
3 or 4? I don't want to jump. Oh, okay. And then there's a timer because you start running out of cards. And then you're like, oh, I got to get my things finished. And if you don't, it counts against you.
Yep.
It's my number one for a reason. I absolutely advocate this game for gamers, for non-gamers, for couples, for family members, just for anyone that just, I mean, I've heard stories of young couples that have just gotten married that are getting into board games that have taken Lost Cities down to the laundromat and
Mm-hmm.
spent their days doing the laundry at the laundromat and playing Lost Cities over and over and over again. I am a huge advocate for this game. I do not play Dr. Reiner Knizia's game, like a lot of his games. I'm not necessarily a fan of him as a designer, but Lost Cities, like I said, it's kind of subjective. Well, it is subjective because it just came to me at a moment where I had not really dabbled in 2-player games, and it was like, this is so streamlined and brilliant and easy, and it's not going anywhere. And I definitely love to play it. And there are versions um, that I should throw out there just in case if people get on the old Amazon machine. There's Lost City Rivals, which is essentially a 2-player game, but it adds a little bit more to it. I would recommend just kind of looking for the base game, just if you're new to these card games or these designer games. The second one is, I think it's still called Lost Cities, but it's a 4-player version. It's got a
Yeah.
board and it plays with 4 players. It's also fun. I've played it. I wouldn't say anything negative about it. But for 2-player games, which is what we're talking about today, this one really takes the cake for me. I absolutely, absolutely love Lost Cities and would recommend it to anyone that's saying, hey, me and my boyfriend or me and my best friend or whatever, Lost Cities. And everyone kind of knows Solitaire to
Mm-hmm.
some degree. And
Right.
so it does have that feeling of like you're just building a solitaire on my side and you're building solitaire on your side. But guess what? Our companionship comes together in that middle area where it's about give and take. And it's just a great game. So
Yeah. I
I'm
would
going to
agree.
shut
It
up
is a great
about
game.
it. It's my
It
number
is a
one
great
for
game.
a reason. I could talk
Yep.
about Lost Cities a lot.
Amazing. Yep, it is a great game. I remember like you said, going to the laundromat. I remember going to like just like a local family restaurant late at night, drinking coffee with a couple friends, and one of our friends who has now moved away, but was a big gamer with us. Her and I just sat there and we played I think we did play 3 rounds of it, just sitting there and drinking coffee and shooting the breeze. It's a great game. I own it as well. It is not my number one, but I did it because I knew you were going to have it on as your number one, and I didn't want us to match. We have not discussed our lists, so Andrew didn't know what I had on my list. I didn't know what he had on his list, so it's kind of fun to see.
I have a guess though for your number one.
You have a guess. Okay.
When we get there.
Okay. Well, my number one is a game you actually have already mentioned.
Okay, so then it's not what I was thinking. I was thinking Cosmos game called Kahuna.
Oh,
That was going to be my guess.
that was a thought.
Great 2-player game, just not
Absolutely.
on our list, I guess.
Yep.
It's got to be Jaipur then.
It is
Jaipur.
Jaipur. It's all about the camels. I love
Oh yeah,
this
the
game.
Camels.
It's all about the I love camels, so I guess it kind of is a subjective for me game, but
I suck at this game.
it's so much fun. I love it so much.
Yeah.
It's cute. The artwork is kind of like it's Middle Eastern, so it has kind of Middle Eastern feel because you are trying to sell your goods. That's pretty much the game is. You have these cards, and you're playing cards that are, you're trying to get the highest point goods that you can. Um, and you play over 3 rounds, and then you have camels that you can like trade stuff and take the camels, and oh, I love the camels. um, I know. When I bought the game, don't be alarmed if you end up like wanting to play this game and buying this game. It is available on Amazon. It took me a while to get it, but if you buy the game, it comes with like 4 different instruction manuals, and they're all in different languages, and the English one was at the bottom. So I was looking, and I'm like, does this even have the manual in it? I don't even know, so I finally found it though. So don't be alarmed, because I thought, oh no, how am I going to learn how to play this game? There's no rule book. But it's super fun. I play it this way. If I'm alone, I play it online because they have a digital version of it. So yeah, it's a great game. I super enjoy it. When I said it was an honorable mention, I was like, oh no, it's my number one.
I do like it. I'm terrible at it, but it is a good game. I mean, I can recognize a smooth, like 2-player game, and it's smooth. The camels really don't represent anything as far as cards, because you're trying to collect sets of cards to be able to cash them in to get tokens that'll give you points. And the first one to the tokens get more points. But the camels don't do anything, but they give you some like ability, right? Because you can take all the camels and then you can use them later in a certain kind of situation that will really help you out. And I think they score somehow.
Yeah, the most camels at the end of each round, you get a bonus.
You get a 5-point bonus.
Yeah, you get a 5-point bonus. And like if you lay down 5 goods at once, there's a 5 good bonus card token that you get as well. And yeah, that's fun. I just like the artwork. I think it's kind of cute. So yeah, this is my number one. I enjoy it. I enjoy all the games that we have played and we've discussed. There's no doubt about it. Like you said, we play a lot of 2-player games together, and that's kind of like our deal. We just kind of play a lot of 2-player games, and I enjoyed learning new games. I enjoy finding new games and like just kind of perusing even Amazon. And if I find something that neither one of us have played, I'll be like, hey, have you seen this game? Do you know what it is? And most of the time you'll either be like, yeah, I've heard about it, or you'll be like, no, I haven't. And then I'll be like, all right, well, I'll buy it and we'll see how it goes. So, but yeah, I enjoy Jaipur. We haven't played it in a while. It's another game that it's one of those games that I can pull out when I'm with my family, and it's one of those games that we'll be able to play. And like I said, my mom's not a big gamer, so she doesn't like the thinky games, as she calls them. I don't want to play your thinky games. That's for you and Andrew, she tells me.
Yeah, Jaipur. I mean, it was on my honorable. I mean, all these games are great. Even like Tides of Madness, which is just like I said, it's just stupid easy game, but it's still kind of fun. And so I guess that's it. Those are our top 5 solo, or not solo, 2-player games that it's getting pretty late for us here. Top 5 2-player games, in my opinion. I don't think there's a bad game that's been referenced the whole evening. I personally don't play Patchwork. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to really play it. It doesn't mean that I think it's just like, oh man, that's not a really good pick. I don't really like that one. So everything is really good, from Watergate, which is a newer game, to Jaipur, to obviously Lost Cities, like our number ones, Onitama, things like that. So all these are really great games if you want to play just specifically 2-player games, no more or less. So that'll be it for our video. I think maybe next time Chaneen will be back, like we said earlier in the video. Maybe we'll put together a list of games that you can play with more players, but we really just play with ourselves, like just us, like 2 players.
If there's a game that like we haven't mentioned, just put in the comments section. Maybe we'll check it out,
Yeah, I mean, there's a few other two-player games that I have that just didn't make the list, didn't make the honorable mention or whatever, that I just didn't put on any of it because it's like I don't really play this a whole lot.
Hmm.
But yeah, so next time that we see Chaneen or whatever, we'll get together on the channel and we'll do like top 5 games that we play two-player that aren't necessarily two-player games, but we really like to play them with just two, because when you get 3 or 4 or 5 of the whole Magilla, you just, it's not really quite the same game. And so that's going to be it for the video for As Per My Ability. Thanks for joining us, the top 5. Chaneen, again, thanks for doing this. We've been meaning to do this for ever now. So now it's done and it's in the books, so it feels great. And
Yeah.
so everyone out there watching, thanks for watching As Per My Ability. And we're going to sign off and get some sleep. So as always, thanks for watching, and I will see y'all at the next video. Bye.
Bye.